Hello, welcome to aerodynamics and flight theory. You see, this guitar, it is to remind you that my YouTube channel has two main themes: music and aviation. So please don't forget to subscribe to it, so as anytime I post a video, whether it is a music video or aviation video, you will be the first ones to be notified. What I want to talk about at this time is something very important to the relationship between the wings of an aircraft, of an airplane, and in the air that the airplane is moving through. So remember, we are talking about aerodynamics. Now, when an airflow, okay, now remember airfoil. In several of my recent videos, I talked about airfoil, which is a section of a slice of a wing. So the airfoil is made in such a shape that the air flows, over it in a way that make a distinction, in a way that makes a distinction between the speed of the air, whether it is passing over the airfoil or below it. There's because of the shape of the airfoil, which is actually a section, a slice or a section of the wing, because the wing itself takes the shape of all the airfoils that it contains. So that shape allows the air to flow at a faster speed over the airfoil or the wing down below it. So because of the shape of the airfoil, there is more concentration of the air below it, which creates a higher pressure below the airfoil, below the wing, down above it. So basically, when the disturbances that I want to talk about, pressure. I want to talk about pressure disturbances on airfoils, on wings. So let's say the airflow, okay, is going to reach the leading edge of the airfoil, the leading edge of the wing. Okay, so when that happens, remember the air has velocity and it has pressure. As a free airflow, as a free stream of airflow, it has, its pressure, which is the pressure that you call standard day static pressure. Standard day static pressure, at sea level. Okay, so when the air, which is the leading edge of the wing of the airfoil, okay, so at the leading edge, that airflow stops. It stops right there. There's no movement because it encounters an obstacle, which is the leading edge of the wing or of the airfoil. It encounters an obstacle. So that means it comes to a stop. This is the point that is called stagnation point. Stagnation point, where the air stops completely at the leading edge of the wing. So what happens at the leading edge of the wing when the airflow stops? There's no the velocity of the airflow is now zero because it's not moving, and the dynamic pressure is also zero. So all we have at the stagnation point is static pressure, which is now the total pressure, because that's all we have, because there's no movement of the air. It has stopped. So all we have is a static pressure at this point, at the stagnation point. The static pressure is higher than the ambient pressure. Okay, velocity zero. There's no velocity, and you know what velocity is. Okay, so now, but remember that the air, even though it stops at the stagnation point, that's temporary, because it's going to keep moving along. So now what the airflow now goes over the wing, over the airfoil, some of it, and some of it also goes under the wing. Okay, now the air is moving over the wing and below the wing, which is an airfoil. Now we have velocity. Now the air has velocity now. Yeah, the air has velocity both above and under the airfoil, under the wing. So now, what about the static pressure that has stopped, because we remember we had total static pressure at the we had total static pressure at the stagnation point. Now the air is moving over and under the wing. Now the static pressure is not the same now. Okay? The static pressure now is not zero anymore. It is not zero anymore. But the only thing now is that because we have velocity, the air has velocity. In this case, the static pressure, has been reduced, because as velocity increases, static pressure decreases. Okay, so now, and this is not something that I made up. I did not make that up. This is according to Bernoulli's theory of pressure in gases. Okay, so velocity over the wing increases, static pressure decreases. Okay, same thing under the wing, velocity increases, velocity of the air increases, static pressure of the air decreases. Okay, now remember the airfoil, the wing, has maximum thickness that can be relocated anytime depending on the plane, on the airplane, on the aircraft that that it is installed. Okay, if it is a subsonic, if the airplane is a subsonic airplane, so the maximum thickness of the wing of the airfoil will be close to the leading edge. But if it is a supersonic airplane, okay, with is more comfortable with laminar airflow, the maximum thickness is moved from close to the leading edge to closer to the trailing edge, and so the leading edge can be shaped as maybe close to a knife edge, okay, shape. Yeah, well, so now the main thing I am talking about now is changes in pressure and velocity as the air passes the airfoil. Now, when the airflow is near to the maximum thickness of the airfoil, okay, which is maximum thickness, are we talking about subsonic airfoil, subsonic airfoils. So the maximum thickness is close to the leading edge. So when the airflow is close to the maximum thickness, okay, at that point the velocity is at its maximum. Okay, I repeat that. Right behind the leading edge of the wing is the maximum thickness. When the air reaches that point, its velocity is at its maximum. So, since we know as velocity increases, static pressure decreases. So at that point, at that point of maximum velocity, the static pressure is at its minimum. So I hope you get it. Maximum at that point of maximum thickness, we have maximum velocity and minimum static pressure. Okay? Now, as the airflow keeps flowing, from the leading edge and keep going from the leading edge, and it keeps going until it reaches the trailing edge of the airfoil or the wing. It loses energy, because remember, the air is a fluid, and when a fluid is in contact with a solid, there's friction between the two. And when there is friction, there is loss of energy. So the air, because of its viscosity, because of its viscosity, there is friction between it and the airfoil or the wing. So because of that, the air loses energy on its way to the trailing edge. Okay, now, because of the loss of energy, it also loses velocity. So now, by the time it reaches the trailing edge of the wing or the airfoil it lost so much energy that we have a concentration of low velocity. So now it's going to be the reverse now. As velocity decreases, static pressure increases. So at the trailing edge, because of the loss of energy, of the airflow, by the time it reaches the trailing edge, now we have at the trailing edge of the wing, we have low velocity and high static pressure. Okay, high static pressure. Now, the free airflow that is going to reach the leading edge of the airfoil or the wing of an airplane is the flight path velocity. Okay, flight path velocity. That's the velocity that was stopped at the stagnation point. and sped up over the wing and under it afterwards. So we can conclude that if we have V1, which is the flight path velocity, V1, so the air going over the wing, the airfoil, that's V2, velocity 2, and the one going underneath, that's velocity 3. So we can compare velocity, velocity 1 and velocity 2. We can compare velocity 1 and velocity 3, and then velocity 2 and 3, you know, we can also compare those two with each other. So we can safely say that velocity 1 is less than velocity 2, okay, and velocity 1 is less than velocity, okay, let me repeat that. Velocity 1 is less than velocity 2 and 3, okay, but what about velocity, comparing velocity 2 over the wing or airfoil, and velocity 3 under? So because of the shape of the wing of the airfoil, the air passing over the wing or the airfoil is faster than the air passing below it. So we can say that velocity 2 is greater than velocity 3. So that means that velocity, less velocity under the airfoil, under the wing, so more pressure under the wing, and high velocity over the wing or airfoil, so less static pressure. That explains somehow how lift is created, but this is a subject that I will tackle in future videos. Lift. So basically, what I wanted to talk about is pressure disturbances around an aircraft, around the wing, around the airfoil, and we know that because of when the air flows over the wing or around, when the air flows around the airfoil or the wing, okay, around it, of course it creates some sort of because some sort of disturbances, because now we have changes in velocity, changes in pressure that create some sort of agitation around the aircraft. And guess what? Guess what? The the pressure, the pressure, um, the pressure. I would say agitation, the pressure disturbance that is happening in front of the wing or the airfoil affects the air approaching the leading edge of the airfoil or the wing, and mainly the name of that opposite airflow is relative wind. Okay, so I hope you understand, you know, the relationship between between the air, which is a fluid medium, and the airfoil or the wing of the airplane that is passing through it. Okay, so be patient. Sooner or later, I'm going to talk about the subject that I'm preparing you for, which is lift.